Thanks very much.
One of the things I was asking you is phosphate. I think the last time I came across it or even got into it was on the periodic table when I was still in school. So I think it is important for us to give a little bit of background of what this is used for and why this find is significant for Namibia.
You know, phosphate together with potassium and nitrogen, also elements on the periodic table, are essential elements ingredients into fertilizer. We can't make fertilizer without either of those ingredients, and phosphate is certainly one that is interest to Africa. We've got this, Namibia has this amazing phosphate deposit off its coast, about 60 kilometers out to sea, containing about 3 billion tons of phosphate.
So right now with this whole process, where are you in the project?
We have, well, to start, this phosphate deposit was explored way back in the 1980s by Gencor. Since then, a number of companies have been doing exploration in this phosphate belt, and Sandpiper project, which is the one we're talking about, has been explored by 2 Australian companies, Union Resources and Mine Makers, and they've now joined their 2 tenements to form one big mining tenement. And together with a local partner, we have developed this project. We've done the exploration up to an indicated and measured resource. We have done a feasibility study where we have got a final estimate of the capital that we would require to develop and beneficiate this phosphate to a concentrate. And we are now getting the funding together, getting the final environmental clearances going, and then we're ready to go.
I do want to talk about that environmental clearance. What are some of the issues that are being raised in terms of what the impact of the environment could be?
Look, obviously, because mining in the ocean is relatively new, and people seem to think it competes with the fisheries and that it will disturb the sensitive balance in the marine environment, there are a lot of worries that our mining operation will scare off the fish, will be detrimental to the fishing industry. And we've done really careful environmental studies to prove to what extent we will affect the fishing industries. And these studies have come back with surprisingly little effect. Now, on a year basis, we'll only be mining 3 square kilometers of the ocean floor. And the area we're going to start mining is outside of the main fishing belts. So I think in the area we're going to mine for the first 20 years, I think 2 tons of commercial fish have been caught in that area in the last 5 years.
So let's just talk a little bit about, with everything that you have said, you're still waiting for this environmental studies and all that assessment to take place. Do you have a timeline of when you could start mining?
Yes, assuming that we get these clearances by the end of this year, which I think is reasonable, we will take to the end of 2013, beginning of 2014 to get our plant in running on the shoreline. We are using a rented dredger from Yandanul. We have chartered a dredger, one of the biggest dredgers in the world, to do the actual recovery of the phosphate off the seafloor. And that we can mobilize fairly quickly.
David, what are your projections in terms of how much you'll be able to mine?
Our intention is to produce 3 million tons of phosphate concentrate, which will be directly saleable into the market. And this will take us about 3 years to build up to that level of production from the start.
And in terms of your potential market, how much interest are you seeing and from who?
Look, we've did a pilot plant study at Mintec, and we generated quite a lot of concentrate sample, which we are trying in the market. We have given samples to India, to South America, to Malaysia. There's a lot of interest in this material because it's very reactive in the soil conditions. It's very soluble, makes it a very good direct application phosphate.
I was thinking you were going to say Africa with so much
yes,
agriculture development here.
And because of this direct application potential, we really think it's a great product to develop for small-scale farming in Africa. And Tanot and Tengi, our local Namibian partner, is very keen that we get this project developed in Africa. In fact, it's her hobby horse.
Now at this price of phosphate going up 800% since 2007, that's a huge jump. What do you think was behind that increase?
Look, the initial increase in that was really in line with all world commodities during 2008. The whole world went bananas, went mad. And then 2008, it came back down somewhat. So prices now, Moroccan phosphate's going at about $200 a ton. Ours is slightly lower grade than the Moroccan phosphate, so we think we could sell ours at about $140 a ton, which is great. 5 years ago, it was to $20 to $30 a ton.
But still, I mean, I'm just thinking of what kind of contribution this would be to the Namibian economy.
It is great. If you look at our project in the Namibian economy, we are going to produce 3 million tons a year at, say, $150 a ton. That's $450 million we'll be bringing in to the Namibian economy every year in terms of turnover. From that, there are taxation, there is the royalties on the deposit. We're going to create about 150 permanent jobs in the plant at this phase, more when we go into the beneficiation of the product into single superphosphates and phosphoric acid in the future. So really, it's bringing a whole new industry to Namibia.
And Namibia seems to be quite an interesting place to be right now, just in terms of how much they're finding in terms of resources.
Yeah, I think Namibia's been a bit of a sleeping giant up to now. I think it's got diamonds, it's got uranium, and the phosphates developing, iron ore they're finding up in the north. So really, I think...
When you talk about the job projection of this particular project that you're going to be a part of, how much of those skills, how much of those jobs are going to come from Namibia?
Look, our policy will be to employ Namibians wherever possible. Obviously, just for some of the more senior technical positions, and we would have to bring in expats to start with, but over a period of time, we'd like to train up Namibian people and end up certainly with 100% Namibian in the project.
So for you, what has been the response from Namibia itself with regard to this project?
I think a bit of a mixed bag. There are obviously people that are very excited because of the economic impact. There are people in the fisheries and that who are a bit scared of the impact we'd have on the fisheries. And I think it's a matter of getting all these opinions balanced. But generally, I think we can do it and we can make it successful.
Exciting project. Thank you so much for joining us, David, and telling us about it. Thank you.